Okay, back for part 2 here. What I'm doing now is basically shading a bit. It's like midnight, past midnight, so I gotta be kind of quiet here. Don't want to wake up wifey. That's all I was home now. My girl's going to school. I live in an apartment about 15 minutes from here. All 3 of them have apartments in the same building, which is kind of cool. Each have dogs, which is fun because we get grand dogs. What I'm doing here is starting to shade outward. I want to try to pay attention to direction of the shape that he's into, and I don't want to blend out these little hairs, so I'm going to add those later on. But I darkened in some of the eyebrow here, and I suppose I can get up a little above that. This is Old Faithful here. I name my blending stumps Tried and True, Old Faithful, Tiny. Okay. Like I said, it's going to be lots of layers, but this will get us started here. I'm going to do it to the point where I normally start branching outward, because I just want to focus on the eyes on this one right now. And again, I might get something like eyes 50–60% done, and then I'll come back to them time and again throughout the drawing. But I want to make sure I'm going to get the eyes right, or I don't want to keep working on it. I don't like the eyes. Although I've done so many of these things now, my confidence level is pretty up there that it's gonna end up looking like the dude or whoever I'm doing. So it's been a while since I got frustrated and threw something out, and it's normally because I pick a reference photo that isn't focused and doesn't have enough detail, and I think I can just make my own details, and then I get frustrated that I can't see what I want to see, and I end up saying, I shouldn't have done that. I got a 2B now. No, this is a B, I'm sorry. Get back to my 2B. Some of this dark stuff, and I doubt that's all it's not all eyelashes, but it's really hard shadows, at least in this photo, and I'm going to try to reproduce it without it looking funny. And I've heard it said and experienced that if something looks weird in a photo, it's going to look even more weird when you draw it. So I've learned not always to draw what you see, but sometimes what you think it should be or what you don't see in little tiny areas. Maybe you've experienced some of that yourself. Again, this will become whiter and whiter as you shade outward and get darker, because one way to make something lighter, if it's as light as it can go, is to make what around it is, darker. So by doing that, I'll start branching outward. It's going to get into some really dark shadows over here. Kind of got a weird thing here. I don't know what you can't see. It's kind of blurry. It's out of focus. So I don't know what's going on with that bottom lid, but that might be an example of where I change it so it looks a little more natural. And this is going to, I'm going to have to adjust the tone through here because it looks almost dark. And this is about the time where if I go like this, See, now this looks totally dark black in here. What I'll do is, I'll do this. Let's see how this is looking. This is pretty dark, I know. Yeah. Like that kind so you can see it better. This has to come down a bit. Is it touching? Is it not? This gets darker. This gets darker yet in here. Maybe I'll try some music to my next drawing. And my son's music has always been listening to that so much. Andrew Bell, there's a plug. Shout out there for my son. That's his stage name though, by the way. It's a pseudonym. Kind of like John Cougar Mellencamp or something, or maybe you knew this, but Nicolas Cage's name is not Nicolas Cage. There's a lot of actors that have their real names we don't know. Well, my name's kind of hard to pronounce, and I don't know what I made him do it one day, but I think it was a good publicity call on his part. One of my twin daughters is a photographer. She's really good. She's got a great eye for the camera. I think I do too, actually. As far as taking photos, I frame things up artistically. I've noticed that in my real estate endeavors, making brochures. I wear a lot of hats, do a lot of different things. Can't tell if those are lashes here, a little out of focus. This might get a little darker right here. This is a 2B, but I'm pressing her really light, and I'll take tiny. Come in here, she's gonna fade more, right? So I think the key to a really nice drawing is to have as many different levels of shade as you can get, like a bunch of different, from white to black and everything in between, and about 50 different levels of shading. It's a good exercise too. I've seen start really black and go all the way to light in about 50, 60 different shades. You know, plus I'm a little colorblind too with some of the darker colors. That's one reason I'm afraid to try color, but I don't want to have to. Geez, man, it took me this long to learn this much about one black and white graphite. How long will it take me to get the hang of? Let's get some hairs coming on here, but I don't know if I got this tone right yet, so I don't want to blend these away. So I'm just kind of starting what might be, what will end up being changed. Some of this is really dark in here, so get this nice and black. And a lot of this is coming back the next day and saying, oh wow, yeah, that doesn't look right. And again, he's got just, you know, like really dark in here, so I mean, I could actually start to get this really black in here. Again, I'm lightening up, lifting up as I approach the edge, because I want to blend that later and define the lines more. So I don't know how that really goes yet. One thing I'm sure is all of this is black. So I'll kill a few pencils on this one. How are we doing on time? 9 minutes or 10 minutes. Time flies. So since this is all black, this can all just be one color all through here, you know, all down here. So this can really all just, make sure I get this right. Now, roll it sideways, turning it in my hand as I go, which actually sharpens the pencil, so you can really kind of get it to the point where it needs sharpening because it's, you know, worn, and then you use your point for other pointy stuff as you need. It gets dull, sharpen it again this way, saves you from grinding down the wood and saves you some time as well. I don't know exactly how I'm going to shape this bottom lid yet, so I'm going to just lead out a little bit to give myself some correction room. And I don't know what's going on with these little lowlights and highlights in here yet, so I'm going to, again, leave myself some room to come back and reshape that. Some correction room. You can almost, you can't see here, but I can 2% light going on in there. So I might do something later with that. And this is about time where I try to establish the outside, you know, the rest of the drawing. So I'm going to take some measurements, rough it out, do basically the same thing I did with this. I'd say this eye is let me guess, 60% done. This one, I'm going to come back again and again and again, and, you know, make more correction lines here, little tiny hairs jutting out, stuff you can't see on this camera, but anyway, I hope this helps you guys, and I may end up doing a larger eye, somebody else's eye. You know, just an eye alone, but I don't want to go too big because that's not my style. I'm not used to drawing big, and plus the bigger you draw, the more you lose details. Because you can't hide details. I like to create the illusion of details, if that makes any sense. So it's not actually drawing the details, but again, fooling your brain to thinking it sees what it thinks it sees. Protect those key lights. I'll go back with magnifying glass later. And really, this is almost blurry right there. And this is going to be more like that, you know, but I don't know how I'm going to make that corner, that curve yet. So, then we'll get a 2B. Get this nice and black. And through here, we'll be going back over that many times throughout the drawing. You can also use a 2B. I don't go anything darker than a 2B. A B or 2B for like really blacks areas. And there's about a 3 to 5% light skin I could see through here, so I don't want to make this all black. Again, black towards light. I work dark to light. So boys and girls, I'm going to zoom in here and see if you can see this any better.